Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, guess what I finally found? A good PNG image of our current AEW Women's World Champion, Jamie Hayter. So yes, this is finally updated. Yes, this is MJF and his previous AEW World Championship. But there is no Triple B yet that I could find. But this will live for now. But yes, we finally have a PNG of Jamie Hayter with the AEW Women's World Championship. Excellent. But excellent. But yes, guys, what is going on? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and I am here to talk about this past week's episode of AEW Dynamite, the January 25th, 2023 edition of Dynamite. And it took place in Lexington, Kentucky. We'll talk about this show. This was, of course, somewhat of a tribute show to the recent passing of Ring of Honor, 13-time Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, Jay Briscoe, who died in a car accident this past week at the age of 38. And the main event match was dedicated to Jay Briscoe, as the people in the match were his longtime friend, Jay Lethal, and his brother, and of course now Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, Mark Briscoe, as he, of course, came out with both Ring of Honor tag titles. And of course, then everybody, of course, came out on the stage after the match, and there was a great ending, a great way to celebrate the life of Jay Briscoe. I didn't know the Briscoe brothers too well. But what I do know is they were making big statements for tag team wrestling this past year, especially their series of matches with FTR as well. So definitely rest in peace to Jay Briscoe. I know his one daughter, I think, was still in the hospital, so prayers that she, gets through okay. And for the rest of the Briscoe family and their friends as well during this difficult time. But overall, I did think we had another really good episode of Dynamite. Again, I'm really digging the storytelling. Digging into stuff with MJF and Bryan Danielson, as MJF continues to now start throwing some tougher challenges to Bryan Danielson, as Danielson has to win 3 more times, I believe, before he becomes number 1 contender. Of course, he had his toughest task of this journey when he faced the Machine, Brian Cage, on this episode of Dynamite. We also had a little bit of more of a direction going, and an interesting little twist with the women, with Toni Storm. We no Saraya this week, but Toni Storm, in the fallout of her and Saraya's very sudden heel turn last week that happened there. We had a little bit more with Action Andretti and Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, and we the lowest point I would say maybe might be that therapy session. We'll talk about that because I do have some concerns about this feud with the Guns and the Acclaimed. But other than that, I still thought it was a great show. It was a very, very fun and effective show. And we're probably just 5 weeks away, or a little over a month away from Revolution. Should be a very interesting card. And of course, we also got the trilogy, the third match, of Jon Moxley and Hangman Adam Page set up for next week on Dynamite. No stipulation, no surprisingly. I am very surprised there's not going to be a stipulation. And I'm a little surprised that they didn't save this for the pay-per-view. But it is what it is. We'll have to wait and see what it is. Well, of course, what they do next week and where each of them go from there. I wonder if Jon Moxley will get that vacation soon. He was supposed to take last fall, but it didn't happen. But let's roll in and let's talk about it. So, we opened up with a tag match with Action Andretti and Absolute Ricky Starks teaming against Les Sex Gods, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara. Again, match was great. Sammy, of course, had like an ace crusher involved in there, as long as some very good near falls as well. Again, Ricky Starks is just catching fire, and Action Andretti is like easily like that underdog rookie that they're telling us we got to get behind, and it's connecting. It's not super forced, I would say, but it's someone who is connecting. And of course, when you're working with a guy like Chris Jericho, who knows how to connect with the audience and whatnot, I think you're in pretty good hands. So, that was a great opener. Again, I'm definitely... Well, the Sex Gods, though, do get the win. As Sammy Guevara hits the GTH on Action Andretti. Action Andretti, whatever it's called. And then we had another TNT title match. We've had... Darby's been TNT champ for 4 weeks now, I think it was? 3 weeks? 4 weeks? Not sure now. But every week, he's had a title defense. And they all been against some really great and also underrated talent. Especially this one. Buddy Matthews versus Darby Allin. My goodness, have I missed Buddy Matthews being able to show his absolute best. Man, again, I just still remember that the same guy that I wasn't really a big fan of when him and Wesley Blake were a tag team in NXT. And then he was like off TV for the longest time until they gave him a shot on 205 Live. And that was basically Buddy Murphy getting his last chance. And again, I still remember just how quickly in that tournament I became a fan of Buddy Murphy. Again, he is so underrated. He's awesome. I don't get why, after he got 205 Live, they never pushed him. I mean, they did a little whenever he was with Seth Rollins, and they were making him the disciple, but then, of course, they ruined him by having, him fall in love with Rey Mysterio's teenage daughter and whatnot and everything. But you watch matches like this, and again, you are reminded, again, just how awesome both these guys are. But of course, definitely Darby Allin. We had some outside interference from Brody King and Malachi Black on the ramp with Sting. But then Ortiz makes the save with a baseball bat and fights off the rest of the House of Black. And the match continued. And again, very great near falls. Darby Allin, though, then wins with a coffin drop. After the match, though, Samoa Joe appears on the Tron, the guy who Darby had dethroned a few weeks ago in Seattle. And he interrupts and says, "In times of old, theft was punished by cutting off a hand. But in the kingdom of the true king of television, he'll be punished by having everything stolen from him, and he's coming back for what is his, and he will not be usurped. Darby will learn that winning that title is the greatest mistake of his career. So speaks the king." And we are going to be getting a rematch in a no-holds-barred match between the two of them next week. I'm thinking they're probably going to have Darby drop the title back to Samoa Joe, as he probably should. Again, that was a great, surprise. Definitely like a great reaction. A great way to, draw a rating. And as well to have a moment at a first-time place like Seattle. But I think they got to keep booking Joe strong. So I think Darby's probably going to drop the title back to him next week in that no-holds-barred match. But it's going to be awesome when it happens. And then we also get a comeback video package of Adam Cole working out in the ring. They're teasing that obviously he's eyeing up for his first match back to be at Revolution. Who his opponent will be, I have no clue, but we'll have to wait and see. Then we have the Firm come out with, of course, Matt Hardy, and I had forgotten about this storyline. When I saw the Hardy Boys music hits, I thought at first maybe Jeff came back. But then, no, Matt came out. They're still doing the storyline where when Matt's under contract with the Firm, and so is Private Party. I guess this is leading to at some point whenever Jeff comes back. I'm not sure, but they come out, cut a promo. Then they have a match with Jungle Hook and Jack Perry. Match was what it was. Jungle Hook do win after Jack Perry puts the snare trap on Ethan Page, and of course then there was some miscommunication again with Matt Hardy and Ethan Page as well, so teasing that breakup there. Then we have again this family therapy session with the Acclaimed and the Ass Boys, as Billy Gunn is sitting there basically being in charge of this whole thing. Billy asks his sons when they became entitled spoiled brats. And the Guns point out that he ditched them as kids, and they always came around second. Anthony Bowens mentions how the two of them are the biggest pieces of shit he's ever met. And they had all the time in the world to fix their relationship with their father, but they ran wild with jealousy the second Daddy Ass gave them some attention. Max Caster says they can't be the Acclaimed, and they'd have been fine as a unit with Billy, but they would have the top selling t-shirt if it weren't for him. And then Austin and Cole talk about their problems in the relationship. They bigger, and Billy says they took the easy way out. And he says their faults are his failure as a father. And then Daddy asks, what do you want? We'll make you happy. And they're like, we want those tag belts. And then they just left. I don't know about this feud. I mean, we've already kind of had it, a year ago before the Acclaim got super over. I get we need a fresh tag team to challenge the Acclaim right now, but why is it I'm a little concerned that they may pull a Vince McMahon move and have Billy Gunn ditch the Acclaimed for his own sons? I don't know how I feel about that, especially also that I do feel it's way too soon for the Acclaim to be dropping Billy Gunn. And again, this act is still the hottest thing right now in AEW, for sure. So again, if they would drop Billy now, that would be a clear Vince McMahon move, in my opinion. But hopefully they will not. Oh, another interview with Renee Paquette and Hangman Adam Page. And he says sometimes she asks questions he really doesn't want to answer. And the more he tries to look forward, the more he sees back to Ohio, where this all began with Mox. And next week they'll be in Dayton. So he wants to knock Mox out in Dayton. Wheeler Yuta rolls up and says, hey, Mox will be ready to accept this challenge next week. And he wants to fight Hangman on Rampage this Friday. And then Pierce. Hangman's like, why he thinks what happened to John won't happen to him too, and he'll see him Friday. So that match will be official. Then we have Bryan Danielson versus Brian Cage. Also, rumors have it apparently that Brian Cage's contract is set to expire in a few weeks. Will they re-sign him? I don't know, but him and Brian had a very, very great match. Very great mix of styles, but it all just blended together too. The big part everybody likes to talk about was when Cage did that gorilla press slam, I believe it was, into the turnbuckle. And then, of course, he had some couple tough obstacles come across. But Bryan Danielson does win after the machine powerbombed Bryan to the turnbuckle. But then Bryan, though, reversed it into a folding press. And Bryan sneaks away over the machine with a victory. But after that, though, Cage starts laying down Bryan and starts beating him down. MJF came down with a chair, and then Cage throws Bryan out of the ring, and then they go after Bryan's shoulder. And then after they did that, MJF throws Bryan back in the ring and starts grounding and pounding him, and even continues to attack the bad arm. And then Cage then goes to put the arm through the chair again, and MJF holds down Bryan. Cage is going up to the second rope to do basically a crossbody or whatnot onto the chair to further do more damage to Bryan's shoulder that they already injured already. Until Konosuke Takeshita makes the save and MJF runs away like a little pussy. and then of course Takashita fights off Cage and gets him away. And then the doctors, of course, check on Bryan's arm, but then Bryan refuses to rest and not wrestle. He wants to wrestle and become AEW World Champion and take what matters most off of MJF. Good promos there. We also have a match with Ruby Soho and Toni Storm, in which Toni Storm basically said how, basically kind of implied, a lot of people are saying that this is going to be like, the AEW Outsiders versus the AEW Originals. Which, again, will work, as I said before. The role that Saraya seems to need to play, that she was teasing before she originally had to retire in 2017, is, again, this whole idea... This idea of the fact that, yes, there's been a big, evolution for women, but, she is playing this role where she's not quite getting the complete recognition she deserves because she started it. So, again, this heel thing she's doing with Toni Storm intrigues, because Toni said something about that in her insert promo. She also came out with absolutely no makeup, but also get an insert promo from Ruby Soho telling Toni Storm her new attitude ends with her. And Ruby and Toni had a really, really good match, I gotta say. But then, of course, the shocker was towards the end, because I guess the story here is, who's Ruby with? The Insiders or the Outsiders? But Britt Baker, who apparently is injured, did appear on the stage and distracts Toni Storm, and Ruby Soho hits the Destination Unknown, which looks like a Sister Abigail, and gets a victory over Toni Storm. So a nice big victory there for Ruby, but definitely shocker seeing Britt Baker, kind of tease a face turn. It was strange, but it was intriguing to see. So we'll see, of course, where this goes, of course. But a nice early taste of what Toni Storm will be doing as a heel, and of course Saraya will be probably doing the same as well. MJF cuts a promo saying he's not the first Jew who's had to hide from a man with blue eyes. And he knows Konosuke Takashita is a very talented wrestler inside the ring, but he's a little smooth-brained up top, and he can't match his tempo. So be very careful before you get involved in his business again. And then he says, as for you, Bryan, the title is what gets him out of bed, and he knows all of his sins are worth it because that belt turns his catchphrase to a fact. And it's the only thing he's ever had that makes him whole, and Bryan wants to take it away. And why? Because just like MJF, he has a hole in his soul he's trying to fill. And bad things happen to people that happen with MJF and his company. Just tell the tall British guy that looks like Ellen DeGeneres, he's shooting on Regal there. Physical pain is fleeting, and you don't want him to get to the mental pain because that really leaves a scar. Tony Khan opened an open contract so that MJF has made a call to a man who gets the honor of dismantling Bryan limb from limb next week. And that man is Timothy Thatcher. And I'm excited for this. I really enjoyed Timothy Thatcher when he was in NXT. Again, just the simple, submission specialist that really knows how to use him like that. That's his character. So he's going to have a great technical match with Bryan next week. I'm very intrigued to see what he could do under Tony Khan. But yeah, that was nice there. Surprise there again with Timothy Thatcher can be coming next week to do the next part of the dirty work for MJF. And then we had the main event match, Jay Lethal versus Mark Briscoe. It was obviously, a little bit emotional, but it was just a great, dedication match to Jay. Mark does get the win using Jay's finisher, the Jay Driller. And afterwards, the roster empties onto the stage and celebrates the life of Jay Briscoe. Nice, way to end the show. And again, a great, tribute also to Jay as well. And of course, his brother, was saying stuff to the camera about Jay after he finished the match. And it's Dynamite. Again, great tribute to, Jay Briscoe. Again, intrigued by what's going on with the women, with Tony, Saraya, Ruby, and Britt. and like all 3 other things as well. But very great show. Yeah, I gave the show a B+. B+ for Dynamite for this past week, which is not again on this week's episode of Dynamite. Make sure to leave thoughts down in the comment section below. And be sure as always to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. And follow me on Twitter at TheClubOfTheMan93. And be sure as always to shout for Meatball Sub. And follow me on TikTok at TheClubOfTheMan1993. I'll be back up here shortly trying to do my SmackDown review. And if I do my quick Scott Rowland Hall of Fame video, that would be great as well. But I might have to get a quick shower to, give me a little bit of energy. So we'll see. So guys, I'm checking out. I'll catch you guys all later. You have a great rest of your night. And I'll catch you guys all soon. Peace out, everybody. Yeah, no, I will surprise. There's no escape.